I watched Raw pro wrestling. Shout out to Xavier Woods. I listened to music, adult alternative and alternative. The Urantia book, paper 188, The Time of the Tomb, section 5, Lessons from the Cross. The Urantia book, Michael of Nebadon, in the Urantia book, bestowed himself on this world as Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus, by the power of his personal love for men. So this is just any paragraph in the Urantia book. I'm just picking one. Xavier Woods is King of the Ring, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Jesus, by the power of his personal love for men, could break the hold of sin and evil. I don't know, a sentence in the Urantia book. He thereby set men free to choose better ways of living. Jesus portrayed a deliverance from the past, which in itself promised a triumph for the future. Triumph. Forgiveness thus provided salvation. The beauty of divine love, once fully admitted to the human heart, forever destroys the charm of sin and the power of evil. So lovely sentences here, lovely sentences, lovely ideas, true ideas, good ideas, well worth reading, well worth taking this information in. Good stuff. I mean, as far as forever destroys the charm of sin and the power of evil, the beauty of divine love. Lucifer's problem, Lucifer, the system sovereign who went into rebellion about 200,000 years ago. So like there's a line in the Urantia book, like Michael of Nebadon tried to not have Lucifer do his rebellion. He tried, after Lucifer had already started his rebellion, Michael of Nebadon, the ruler creator of the universe of Nebadon. Lucifer is a system sovereign in the universe of Nebadon, in rebellion, and Michael, so under in terms of authority, under Michael of Nebadon in that sense. But so Michael of Nebadon tried to get Lucifer, after Lucifer had started his rebellion, Michael of Nebadon tried to get him to not do it. However, so anytime there's something in the Urantia book, a line like, more than once, Michael of Nebadon sent someone to Lucifer, Gabriel or somebody else or something, sent someone who got word to, or someone one way or another, proffered forgiveness and restoration to Lucifer in terms of himself, something like that. But Lucifer, my point here is Lucifer turned it down with increasing disdain. I think the Urantia book, the line in the Urantia book is Lucifer turned down these proposals of whatever forgiveness, or to get him to not do his rebellion anymore. He turned down these proposals with increasing hatred and disdain. I'm paraphrasing, but something like that. So I don't know. That was that. So I guess this is a fairly important idea that's not really, certainly not in Christianity and things of this nature. So on millions of inhabited worlds in Nebadon, and on millions of inhabited worlds, the sentence is paragraph 5, section 5, paragraph 5 in the Urantia book, on millions of inhabited worlds, tens of trillions of evolving creatures who may have been tempted to give up the moral struggle and abandon the good fight of faith have taken one more look at Jesus on the cross and then have forged on ahead inspired by the sight of God's laying down his incarnate life in devotion to the unselfish service of man. So an excellent sentence here, a nice long sentence, good sentence. So the point to this sentence is they don't even say Nebenon, but specifically in Nebenon, in potential, eventually there will be 10 million inhabited worlds in Nebenon, similar to this world Urantia. Human evolutionary worlds similar to this world Urantia. Eventually, in the local universe of Nebenon, there will be 10 million of them. Right now, there might be 3.6 million or so in the works when I say in the works, I mean at different stages of their evolutionary process. Currently, something like that. There's a line in the Urantia book about that. They do give an exact number of whatever. So the life of Jesus of Nazareth, the point here is that the life of Jesus of Nazareth was not done just for this world alone, because Michael of Nebenon, oh boy, because Michael of Nebenon is a creator, creator sovereign, is a creator sovereign, now sovereign, after his life as Jesus of Nazareth. Now he's a sovereign, but he's a creator ruler of a local universe. And he bestows himself on one planet once as the creator son of a local universe, the creator maker ruler of a local universe, along with his partner, the divine minister, the female person, the divine minister, the creator son. Together they make a local universe. So he only bestows himself once on one planet, one of his evolutionary planets in his local universe. He picked this one. It's called Urantia in the Urantia book. That's the name of this planet. So he's living one human life, but it's for all the human evolutionary will beings on all the other human evolutionary will being planets, at least in Nebenon, if not in the grand universe. I mean, they don't specifically say the universe of Nebenon, so you could certainly anywhere, not in the grand universe, because there's no interaction between the super universes. Each of the 7 super universes of 100,000 local universes, the Urantia book says very explicitly, there is no ambassadorial relationship between the super universes. There is no interaction, contact in a personal nature, in a personal way, between the super universes. I'm pretty sure the Urantia book is very explicit about that. So in the super universe of Orventon, of 100,000 local universes, potential 10 million eventually 10 million inhabited worlds in each of those local universes. Similar to this world Urantia, 1 brain, 2 brain, 3 brain. It's a big topic in the Urantia book. Human evolutionary will beings can be 1 brain, 2 brain, like this world Urantia, 2-brained, or 3-brained. It's a big topic in the Urantia book, relatively speaking. There's at least a couple papers, information about that. But anyway, so Michael of Nebenon is living one life for his entire universe, and maybe what the hell? I guess I'll say yes, and the super universe of Orventon. They're not real specific about this. So on millions of inhabited worlds, tens of trillions of evolving creatures are inspired by the life of Jesus. I'm paraphrasing. So at least in the universe of Nebenon, and I suppose in the grand universe of, in the super universe of Orventon, they don't give names for the other 6 super universes. They don't give names for this one that we're in, the 7th super universe. They tell us the name of it is Orventon in the Urantia book. So he's living one life for all the human evolutionary will beings in this local universe of Nebenon. So on all those other 3.6 million currently in evolutionary human will-being planets in Nebadon in some stage of development in terms of their evolutionary development as a planet, and the future planets, whatever, tens of trillions, all these humans from all these different evolutionary will-being planets in Nebadon can look to the life of Jesus for inspiration to go on go on to the eternal life. So you, me, any human evolutionary will-being does not have to go on to eternal life, or into whatever eternity is. It's not, you don't have to. It's not a requirement. I don't have to. You don't have to. Nobody has to. So the plan is for a human evolutionary will-being to eventually become a finaliter. That is a big topic in the Urantia book. It's a long path between being a human evolutionary will-being on a human evolutionary will-being planet to becoming a finaliter. It's a long path, but it's not a requirement. And if any human evolutionary will-being decides not to go on for the eternal path, the Urantia book talks about you can be eliminated as a being, destroyed as a spirit being, just completely no longer a being, as a spirit being. You just no longer exist in creation. There is no hell, but there is this process where any being can be annihilated, eliminated, whatever you want to call it. They use these different words and terms in the Urantia book to describe this action, cessation of existence, whatever. So instead of doing that, instead of a human evolutionary will-being deciding to no longer have his existence, whether it's moving on from this world to the morontia, to a spirit form of some kind, continuing on to become a finaliter, spirit being. So instead of deciding not to do that, a being can decide to go forward with the entire process of eventually becoming a finaliter, as described and discussed in the Urantia book. So all those human evolutionary will-beings who may be tempted to give up the moral struggle and abandon the good fight of faith. So everything's about morals. I have to live up to my highest morals. It's not an option. It's not an option because you don't have to exist as a being into eternity. So one's highest moral living is an absolute requirement for all beings. All beings high to low. That's why they're using the term here to give up the moral struggle. They're being very specific about that for a real specific reason. Morality is absolutely essential to growth in the will of God, the universal Father, the first person of the Trinity. Perfect morals. I know what my perfect morals are. I'm not going to say what everyone's perfect morals are, but that's what any being has to find and do. It's not an option. You don't have to go on for eternity. You have to find moral perfection. I have to find moral perfection. It's not an option. So so whatever. Okay. So I personally, so Michael of Nebadon bestows himself once as a human being, as a baby born of woman, once on one planet in his local universe of Nebadon. Here, he did it here. Michael of Nebadon bestowed himself as Jesus of Nazareth right here on Urantia. I and all my other magisterial avonal brothers, 1,062 of us in the universe of Nebadon, we bestow ourselves as magisterial sons or avonal sons, born of the second two persons of the Trinity, the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit. Michael of Nebadon is born or made by or created by or born of the first two persons of the Trinity, the universal Father and the eternal Son, or the names given to them in the Urantia book. And then he bestows himself once on one planet in his local universe. The avonals, such as myself, do bestowal missions as a baby born of woman, as a male child born of woman, on all the other human evolutionary will-being planets in Nebadon specifically. I'm assigned to Nebadon, so in Nebadon specifically, I and 1,062 other magisterial Avonal sons do bestowal missions similar to what Jesus of Nazareth did for this planet. Similar. Every planet is different. The needs of any given planet are different. The history of this planet is bad, very bad, in terms of the Lucifer rebellion, the Calgastia rebellion, the Adamic default, Adam and Eve's default. These things do not normally happen on a human evolutionary world. Again, topics in the Urantia book. But so the needs of any given world and the timing for a bestowal is different. Everything's really different in that sense. But every other of the 9,999,999 eventual mortal human evolutionary will-being planets in Nebadon will receive a bestowal son of the magisterial order, my order of sonship. Yeah. So so they're going to go on and on here about the meaning of the cross in terms of what the Urantia book wants to say about it. Lovely sentences, lovely ideas, and things in this book here along these lines. A lot of a Christian bent in a strong way. But yeah, so I was saying that Christianity doesn't really understand that Michael of Nebadon, Jesus of Nazareth, lived his life on this sphere for all the human evolutionary worlds in his universe of Nebadon. They don't really understand that idea. The Urantia book puts that idea out there. Here's another sentence, paragraph. The cross makes a supreme appeal. Oh my. To the best in man, because it discloses one who was willing to lay down his life in the service of his fellow men. Greater love no man can have than this. This is the Urantia book, just saying what the Urantia book is saying. They're not quoting anybody here. This is the author of the Urantia book saying this, that he would be willing to lay down his life for his friends, and Jesus had such a love that he was willing to lay down his life for his enemies, a love greater than any which had hitherto been known on earth. So the Urantia book is filled with sentences and lines like that, beautiful ideas, true ideas, lovely sentences, lovely statements, lovely paragraphs, especially here towards the end of the book. This is paper 188, the time of the tomb. So especially here towards the end of the book, they get very Christian oriented in terms of their language, I would say, sort of, kind of, but loving stuff, great stuff in terms of information. Just more and more lovely sentences, just like that, lovely paragraphs. The cross is that the high symbol of sacred service, ... on and on with lovely ideas like that. This whole section, this is section 5, fairly long section. It's just whatever they want, whatever the Urantia book wants to say about the entire thing. We know that the death on the cross was not to effect man's reconciliation to God, but to stimulate man's realization of the movement. So it's just on and on. Lovely ideas, lovely sentences, true ideas, truth, true sentences, good stuff. Paper 189, the resurrection. So here's a quote from the personalized adjuster of Jesus. So Jesus of Nazareth had an adjuster, a thought adjuster. Again, topics in the Urantia book. But Jesus of Nazareth had a thought adjuster, just like any human evolutionary will being, you, me, anyone gets a thought adjuster, which is the spirit of the first person of the Trinity, the universal Father. Individual spirit given to an individual human in that individual human's mind. Big discussion in your Urantia book about thought adjusters, of course, because it's very pertinent and important to Urantian mortals, human evolutionary will-being mortals. That's what the Urantia book is for, is to describe things that are pertinent to human evolutionary well-being living. So thought adjusters are a major feature of that. So Jesus had a thought adjuster, also called a mystery monitor. In the Urantia book, they use the term thought adjuster more so than mystery monitor, but for in the Urantia book, for beings, thought adjusters are pretty personal. But whatever. But for beings that they mention many, many times in the Urantia book, they'll usually use more than one title or term or word to describe them, usually just because they're talking about the same being so many times that they'll use different terms or titles or whatever to describe different beings that they mention many, many times in the Urantia book. So thought adjuster is used more than mystery monitor, but anyway, so Jesus received a thought adjuster. His thought adjuster was previously indwelt Machiventa Melchizedek. They give Melchizedek, in the Urantia book, they give Melchizedek a first name, Machiventa. I think they might give a first name of a couple other Melchizedeks, whether they're authors of a paper or there's some reason to give it. So 2,000 years before Jesus, roughly, Machiventa Melchizedek was here on this earth, and he had a thought adjuster. And so the thought adjuster that was in Machiventa Melchizedek was given to, is the same thought adjuster that was given to Jesus of Nazareth. And after Jesus's baptism, Jesus's thought adjuster is personalized, goes from pre-personal to personal. And so now this personal being, this thought adjuster of Jesus of Nazareth, is saying, quote, "Not one of you can do aught to assist your Creator Father in the return of life. As a mortal of the realm, he has experienced mortal death. As the sovereign of a universe, he still lives. That which you observe is the mortal transit of Jesus of Nazareth from life in the flesh to life in the morontia, the spirit trans." So it's on and on here, long paragraph about what this thought adjuster, the thought adjuster, the personalized thought adjuster of Jesus of Nazareth wants to say. That the personalized thought adjuster of Jesus of Nazareth, they say in the Urantia book, is the head of the all the thought adjusters in Nebadon. So the head of all the thought adjusters in Nebadon, as far as authority, the ruler of all the thought adjusters in Nebadon, whatever, something like that, however you want to put it. I suppose in mortal terms, the CEO of a corporation is the top person for a corporation. That would be sort of something similar from a mortal standpoint. But the personalized thought adjuster of Jesus of Nazareth is in charge of all the thought adjusters in Nebadon, personal or otherwise, I think. I'm pretty sure, something like that. They say that in the Urantia book. There's a line like that in the Urantia book somewhere. So the whole point here, I think there's another line in the Urantia book coming up, or right in this section somewhere. The point is that the thought adjuster is saying, I believe, something like, whereas seraphim and other beings assist the resurrection of human evolutionary will beings when they are raised from the dead, there are other beings involved in this process. Seraphim, the thought adjuster goes back to paradise, comes back, something about that. Other beings, I guess, maybe, I don't know. They talk about it in the Urantia book. There's good information about this in the Urantia book. But other beings are involved in the resurrection of a human evolutionary well-being. Not so for Jesus of Nazareth. That's the point that the thought adjuster is making, that you can do aught. You cannot do aught. You can't do aught. None of you can do aught to assist your creator father, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, so Jesus of Nazareth is going to resurrect himself, basically. Man. Section 1, the morontia transit. This Sunday morning, April 9th, AD 30, the resurrection morontia form of personality of Jesus of Nazareth came forth from the tomb. I'm pretty sure here it was not immediately visible to the human evolutionary will beings. It's AD 30 because the Urantia book says Jesus of Nazareth was born in AD 7, according to the current calendar that we have. Jesus of Nazareth was born in AD 7, and they give some reasons for why it's AD 7, something about the coins of Tiberius versus the coins of some other emperor, something, whatever. I think Jesus lived to be 35 and a half roughly, and had a 4-year public mission, started when he was around 31 and a half with the public mission and the baptism, I think roughly something like that. So they're going to go on and on here. The morontia transit. A lot of good information in here about what it really means, what it really is, versus the Bible information. The morontia transit. Now is the mortal transit of Jesus. The last paragraph, paragraph 13, section 1, paper 189. Now is the mortal transit of Jesus, the morontia resurrection of the Son of Man, completed. The transitory experience of the Master, Jesus, they're referring to, as a personality midway between the material and the spiritual, has begun. And he has done all this through power inherent within himself. No personality has rendered him any assistance. He now lives currently, like at this time, in this moment, in the life of Jesus of Nazareth in the Urantia book, he now lives as Jesus of Morontia. The material body of his flesh lies undisturbed in the tomb. This is a statement in the Urantia book. So Jesus of Nazareth is a capital S, capital M, Son of Man, the Urantia book is saying here. And he is, because he's a creator son. He's a creator son living a bestowal on Urantia, this planet. So I too am a capital S, capital M, Son of Man, as a avenal bestowal currently on Urantia. In this moment, as I speak, I am a avenal son currently in a bestowal mission here on Urantia. The second capital S, capital M, Son of Man to ever appear on Urantia is me. So I'm the second bestowal on this planet. The first bestowal on this planet, capital S, capital M, Son of Man bestowal on this planet, was Jesus of Nazareth. I am the second capital S, capital M, Son of Man bestowal on this planet currently, right now, as a male child born of woman. I'm the sixth epical revelation on this world. Urantia, as epical revelations are defined in the Urantia book. I don't know. So Jesus of Nazareth being quoted, having finished my life in the flesh, in his morontia form, having finished my life in the flesh, I would tarry here for a short time in transition form, that I may more fully know the life of my ascendant creatures and further reveal the will of my Father in paradise, unquote. So somewhere in here, I guess coming up maybe, Jesus says something like, and they quote Jesus in the morontia form, probably not, definitely not visible to the humans on the planet at the time. Jesus is quoted as saying, although I tarry here, I'm paraphrasing, but he says, like, although I tarry here, this should not delay the resurrection of my sleeping children or sons or something like that. I'm paraphrasing what they quote Jesus of Nazareth saying. So he says something like, so start the resurrection. I'm paraphrasing again. He says, so Jesus says something like that, like, although I tarry here, this should not delay the resurrection of my sleeping sons. So the resurrection of the sleeping mortals begins when Jesus says that. That's another topic in the Urantia book as far as resurrections, when they happen, whether it's a total roll call, every single human being eligible to be raised from the dead is raised from the dead during these epical revelations, like the life of Jesus of Nazareth. Certainly after my life in the flesh, there will be a total roll call of every single human evolutionary will being eligible to be raised from the dead. Shortly after my life in the flesh, for me, as me, with me, something like that, myself as an epical revelation, but at the epical revelations, not at the epical revelation of Machiavel and Melchizedek. I don't think, pretty sure, not at that one, but so they do total roll calls. Every single human being eligible to be raised from the dead is raised from the dead, and periodically throughout the history of a world like this world, Urantia, there are periodic resurrections where not every single human evolutionary will being eligible to be raised from the dead is raised from the dead. But a lot are, many are, something like that. The Urantia book talks about this. It's topics in the Urantia book. They give very good explanations about these things in the Urantia book.